South Africa is a place of stunning sights. Mountains rise sharply against blue skies. Vast, dry plains stretch to the horizon. The coastline meets two great oceans. Wildflowers bloom in deserts after rain. This beauty is immense. It captures the heart quickly. The land itself tells a story of ancient times. The nation holds many peoples. Diverse cultures live side by side. Each has its own traditions. Each has its own language and songs. This diversity is a great strength. For centuries, different groups have met here. Sometimes they met in peace. Often they met in conflict. The history is rich with these encounters. It is a tapestry woven with many threads. The past is not simple. There were triumphs. People built communities. They created art. They found ways to survive. But there were also deep struggles. Colonial powers arrived. They brought great change and pain. Gold and diamonds were found. This brought wealth for some. It brought hardship for many others. Apartheid cast a long, dark shadow. It was a system of brutal separation. The journey continues. History books tell many tales. They speak of great leaders. They describe important events. They outline the rise and fall of powers. Official records are kept. Archives store documents and photographs. These sources help us understand the past. They form the narrative we often learn. But we must ask a critical question. What stories have been left out of the official narrative, whose voices were not recorded, whose contributions were deemed unimportant? History is often written by those in power. It can reflect their views. It can reflect their biases. The stories of the marginalized are often lost. They are buried deep. In South Africa, this question is vital. The official history for many years was incomplete. It largely ignored the experiences of Black South Africans. It particularly overlooked the roles of women. Women were active. They were thinkers. They were resistors. Their stories often remained in the shadows. During the dark years of apartheid, life was harsh. The system was designed to control. It was designed to separate. It aimed to break the spirit of resistance. Laws dictated where people could live. They dictated what work they could do. They dictated who they could love. For women, especially black women, the burden was immense. They faced triple oppression. They were oppressed because of their race. They were oppressed because of their gender. They were oppressed because of their class. Yet in the face of this, many women rose. They refused to be silent. They refused to be broken. They challenged the unjust laws. They fought for basic human dignity. They demanded equality. Consider women like Lillian Ngoyi. She was a powerful orator. She led thousands of women in protest. She stood firm against the dreaded pass laws. Think also of Helen Joseph. She was a white woman who stood with her black sisters. She faced bans and house arrest. Yet her spirit remained undaunted. She tirelessly documented the plight of political prisoners. She spoke out against injustices. Her courage was an inspiration to many. These women were not just victims. They were active agents of change. Their fight for equality was fundamental. They organized, mobilized, and strategized. Their names should be known by all. The fight against apartheid was not only fought in big marches. It was not only led by famous names. It was also fought in countless small ways. It was fought by ordinary women. They showed extraordinary bravery in their daily lives. Their acts of resistance were often quiet. They were often unseen by the wider world, but they were powerful. They chipped away at the foundations of the unjust system. They kept hope alive in dark times. Many women engaged in acts of civil disobedience. They defied petty regulations. They refused to comply with discriminatory rules. They found ways to support their families. They found ways to educate their children. This was despite immense obstacles. Some women sheltered activists on the run. They risked their own safety. They risked their own freedom. They provided safe houses. They passed messages. They formed a vital network of support. Consider the bravery of women like Albertina Sisulu. She was a nurse and an activist. She endured decades of banning orders. Her husband, Walter Sisulu, was imprisoned for life. Yet she continued the struggle. She raised her children. She supported her community. Her quiet strength inspired a nation. Their contributions were essential to the eventual downfall of apartheid. Education under apartheid was a tool of oppression. The Bantu education system was designed to limit. It aimed to provide Black South Africans with an inferior education. It prepared them for lives of servitude. It denied them opportunities. It sought to stifle critical thinking. It tried to enforce the ideology of white supremacy. This was a deliberate strategy. It was meant to maintain the status quo. But many women refused to accept this. They understood the power of knowledge. They knew that education was a key to liberation. They became pioneers in the fight for true learning. They established informal schools. They taught in secret. They created alternative learning spaces. These spaces were often in homes. They were in churches. They were in community halls. They operated with few resources. They faced constant threats from the authorities. These women were not just teachers. They were activists. They were nurturers of young minds. They instilled a love of learning. They fostered a spirit of inquiry. They taught children their true history. They countered the propaganda of the state. Their work was dangerous. Their efforts created ripples of change. Their contribution to the fight against apartheid was immense. Beyond the grassroots efforts, women also excelled as formal educators. They worked as scholars. They pushed for change within existing institutions. They challenged discriminatory practices. They advocated for a more inclusive curriculum. Their achievements were often hard-won. They faced systemic barriers due to their race. They faced barriers due to their gender. Yet, they persevered. They made significant contributions to South Africa's intellectual life. Think of scholars like Fatima Meer. She was a sociologist. She was an academic. She was a writer. She was a tireless anti-apartheid activist. Her research documented the harsh realities of life under apartheid. Her writings gave voice to the oppressed. She was banned, she was imprisoned, but she never stopped her work. She inspired generations of students. She showed that intellectual pursuits could be a powerful form of resistance. Her scholarship was a weapon against injustice. Many female teachers worked in under-resourced schools. They faced enormous challenges. They had large classes, they had few materials, yet they dedicated their lives to their students. They instilled values of critical thinking. They encouraged their students to dream. They encouraged them to strive for a better future. They were architects of minds. The struggle for quality education did not end with apartheid. The legacy of that system continues to cast a long shadow. Disparities still exist. Access to good schools remains a challenge for many. This is especially true for girls and women in rural areas. It is true for those in impoverished communities. The fight for educational equity is an ongoing one. It requires sustained effort. It requires continued commitment. Today, many South African women are at the forefront of this quest. They are teachers, they are principals, they are university lecturers, they are researchers, they are policymakers. They are working to transform the education system. They are striving to make it more inclusive. They are striving to make it more equitable. They are striving to make it more empowering for all learners. Their work builds on the legacy of those who came before them. Empowerment through education is a critical goal. When women and girls are educated, societies benefit. Educated women are more likely to participate in the economy. They are more likely to engage in civic life. Their journey continues. The heroines of South Africa's past are many. Their stories are diverse. Their contributions are profound. Many of their names are not widely known. Their actions may not be recorded in prominent historical accounts. Yet, their impact is undeniable. They were the quiet pillars of the struggle. They were the brave challengers of an unjust system. They were the dedicated educators who nurtured future generations. Their legacy lives on. Their actions laid the foundations for a more just society. The freedoms enjoyed today were hard-won. They were won through the sacrifices of countless individuals. Many of these individuals were women. Their resilience in the face of oppression is a powerful lesson. Their courage in the darkest of times continues to inspire. They showed that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things. They demonstrated the power of collective action. They proved that hope can survive even the most brutal systems. Uncovering and sharing these stories is essential. It is a way of honoring their memory. It is a way of acknowledging their contributions. Oral histories play a vital role in this process. Community projects that gather personal testimonies are crucial. We must listen to the elders. We must record their recollections. The task of remembering is not just for historians, it is for all of us. We have a responsibility to learn about these incredible women. We have a duty to celebrate their achievements. We must work to preserve their legacies. Their stories are an integral part of South Africa's narrative. They are an integral part of our shared human story. They deserve to be heard. They deserve to be honored. We can start by seeking out their stories, read books by and about South African women, explore archives and online resources, Listen to podcasts and watch documentaries that highlight their contributions. Engage in conversations within your communities. Ask questions about the women who made a difference locally. Support organizations that work to preserve women's history. These actions, however small, can make a difference. They help to bring these hidden figures into the light. Celebrating their achievements enriches our national identity. It provides role models for current and future generations. It shows young girls and women that they too can be agents of change. It reminds us all of the power of courage. It reminds us of the importance of justice. It reminds us of the value of perseverance. Let their voices resonate.